Naoya Inoue had an injury a couple of months ago when he was scheduled to fight Fulton, and they've rescheduled it for July 25th. This one, luckily, it's going to be in Japan. It's going to be a big fight. That is going to be another 6 a.m. fight, folks, for your Eastern Standard Time. This is something we've talked about before. I've gotten up several Tuesdays at 5:30 to watch Inoue fight, and so we've got to see his development. And it's something that the American fans of Stephen Fulton, which I include myself among them, but the American fans that maybe don't want to get up that early, and I don't blame them, haven't got a chance to see Inoue in his development and why he is considered number one pound for pound on several of the pro lists and in the top three on basically all of them. Moving up in weight yet again to fight Stephen Fulton, undisputed fight. This should be a really good one. Minus 290 Inoue, plus 210 for Stephen Fulton. I, for one, have no problem being awake at 6 a.m. to watch this fight, which could be, one of the top 5 fights of the year easily. Definitely one of the top 5 I'm excited about, to say the least.
Yeah, no, it's a very exciting match. Fulton's the guy who's got to step up here. He's the guy going into the Lion's Den. He's fighting the number one guy, the number one guy now pound for pound in some places. Yeah, that's what Inoue was meant to be. Annoying, I realize. But Inoue he's a modern fighter in terms of he's got the full backing of the Japanese resources behind him. He's the poster boy for the sport in the country. That's what makes him a big star. It's not a huge sport in Japan. But once you've gotten to his star level, now you are talking about a lot of star power. Now he brings people in and always fights at home. Fulton's got to overcome all of that, fighting in Japan can be, even for somebody who's enjoying the trip, can be difficult. Food.
And it's really odd, too, even for the home crowd, the fans don't get that excited, Miguel. You've seen it plenty. They really don't clap a lot. They'll almost a golf clap at the end of rounds and whatnot.
First time fighting in Japan for Fulton, he's going to feel that at some point.
It's going to feel just the lack of energy if you're used to screaming and yelling. Even if they're cheering for your opponent, at least you're hearing some noise.
Uncomfortable with the food or something in the culture, or or with his eyes open, like, wow, cool, like he's traveling for the first time. There's a lot of pressure on an opponent coming in to face Inoue.
That's right. That's right. Fulton is the bigger guy. He occupies a weight class above Inoue's current weight.
At almost minimum weight.
That's right.
And he was a world champion there. He actually sucked so much weight. And this is what I meant by him being a modern fighter and him meant to be where he is today. Is they brought him along, they put him in the lowest weight categories possible so he'd win world championships. Then he'd immediately vacate and move up. He actually skipped a weight class.
Right.
Somewhere between 108 and 112. He didn't hold the world title there. He just jumped it because he was sucking so much weight down. But the intent was always to have him go to the next weight classes when he can, when he's ready, win the world title there, and accumulate 7 or 8 world weight classes and 7 or 8 world titles,
Yep. Enjoying the likes of Pacquiao and Oscar De La Hoya.
Exactly, and that's what he's modeling himself after. So you can see the logic behind it. They followed it to a T. Here, maybe we're getting towards the top of where his potential will be. Maybe he'll go up a weight class in the future again. But he's getting to the point where we're no longer going to see him moving up. He will probably, be topping off, and he'll have world championships and 7 or 8 world titles. If Fulton could break through, hopefully it's enough to make him a star. What's more likely to happen is that if Fulton breaks through, that there'll be a rematch clause and he'll be forced to go over there and fight a second time. And whatever they didn't throw at him his first time, they will the second time.
It's a tall task for the young Stephen Fulton, who I really appreciate his style. I like watching him fight. I think Inoue is got the true nickname of monster for a very, very good reason.
His
Inoue may
power-
not lose for a long
power
time.
started out in the beginning that they gave him that nickname, the Monster, and his power has pretty much held through the weight class jumps.
It sure has, impressively.
He's a knockout artist everywhere he's been.
Very impressive. So this fight will really tell the tale for both of these guys. I think they both come out of it and have a bright futures. I don't think any harm to Stephen Fulton for not winning this fight. And if he wins it, obviously, it catapults him into, top 7, top 5, pound for pound, something like that. I mean, it puts him up there somewhere. Of course, being the bigger guy and being a guy that's not already up on the list. Look, it's hard to get up the list. It's hard to move down. And when you're fighting a bigger guy, if you're talking about Canelo fighting Bivol, Canelo still stayed above him pound for pound. You talk about Lomachenko, a natural 125 guy, fighting Devin Haney, who's 160 walking around every day. Well, WBN, for example, took Haney and put him below Loma and switched Loma up. Ring Magazine already had Loma 7th and didn't have Haney on it. They're not going to put Haney on it. Despite what the judges did in that fight, when you look at the weight differential, even if the fight's close, even in a loss, you can still say pound for pound. Because honestly, biggest Devin Haney fans out there, if Devin Haney weighed the same as Loma walking around every day, if Loma was 160 or Devin Haney was 130 pounds without cutting weight, well. Yeah, he might not have survived the fight, as far as, he might have been knocked down quite a bit, knocked out. It clearly, the superior fighter, pound for pound, is Lomachenko in that fight, according to the professionals that make these lists. These are the guys that vote for Hall of Fame. These are the guys that make the rankings for the belts, So when people get mad about my analysis of pound for pound, I'm just telling you, look, the Ring Magazine invented the concept, and then you've got CBS, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, Independent UK, and a couple of others. And if you aggregate those, right, so neither one has to be perfectly right, but Rotten Tomatoes with movies takes all the professional movie critics and comes up with an average. And I tend to agree with that average pretty consistently down the board. There are some differences with, superhero movies and things like that. But at any rate, I digress. These experts and these pros tend to know what they're talking about. And whether we like it or not, the pound for pound voters are the Hall of Fame voters. So in the long run, who my grandkids are going to remember, if they both stop fighting now, Lomachenko's in the Hall of Fame and Devin Haney's not. Be mad about it in the comments. I'll reply. No big deal. But
he's a guy that, if Fulton gets to pull off the win here, I think Fulton, to be at his best heading into this fight and to give himself the best chance to extend his career positively, he should be preparing to go to Japan and beat this guy twice.
Yep.
When he does it, there will be a rematch clause invoked, and he will be forced to go over there again. And like I said, go the first time and go the second time and be keenly aware of the differences, because there are going to be differences. It's going to be harder, and it's not, something that you should overlook. Because Inoue you're going to be taking something incredibly valuable from Inoue. That's why the rematch clause. But if you lose the rematch, then you kind of fall back to the pack. Andy Ruiz has been forced to do some work because he lost, he would have been a lot better off beating Joshua twice in a row. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he would have. Now, I will say with him, what hurt him as well is there were stories coming out that he wasn't training. He was partying, and he was, he didn't take the, how it goes.
The similarities in there with Inoue, you're absolutely right. But there is that feeling that if Fulton beats him, look to the Andy Ruiz lesson, generally as a motivation, because you should be considering that you're going to have to go back to Japan, and you're going to have to do it again, and it's going to be harder the second time. So,
I do respect Fulton. I think he's got his head in the game. I think if it's a tall task, but if he can win that first fight, I think he will take the second fight extremely serious. I don't think he'll do a Ruiz, personally, but I think it's such a tall task that I just can't see myself, when Piatt Picks comes around, putting money on Stephen Fulton. I would like to be able to think there might be an angle as we get closer, but as of right now, I have full confidence in Naoya Inoue. So let's see if that changes by the time we make our pick for the July 25th fight. The odds would have to change drastically. I think a plus 210 is appropriate odds for Stephen Fulton. If a lot of money came in on Inoue and Fulton ends up a plus 400 or a plus 500, or if some book has him as that, I would consider taking that. You know, maybe 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 fights. Inoue is not at his best, and Fulton has a perfect game plan. But I'm going to bet that it's the 1 in 6 fights where Inoue, I'm sorry, the 5 in 6 fights that Inoue wins is where I'm going to put my money on this one, you know.